So if you've been struggling to trade the markets recently, then I don't blame you, because honestly, they have been absolute dog shit, if I'm being completely honest. Over the past few weeks, we've had some incredible, ridiculous volatility. If you look on the hourly time frame here, we can obviously see that at the start of the week we had that ridiculously huge Trump candle when he said that the war with Iran was essentially over, and we had this ridiculous 1,000-point candle to the upside. And really everyone's just been left wondering recently. The volatility's been pretty ridiculous. We were trading for most of the week between these two gaps, between these 2 points even, where we were inside essentially all of this crazy pump that we saw for most of the week. And when we finally broke out of it down here, we didn't really get the reaction that everyone was expecting. We did come down and sweep this low here, and then if you take a look on the 5 minute, we did get a reaction here, but this was actually after hours, I think, and I couldn't actually take advantage of this because we were essentially after hours in terms of being able to trade on my Lucid accounts. So I couldn't even catch a move from here really, although if we take a look at the 1 minute, I'm sure there was a trade here that could have been taken. I think there was a little 1 minute gap down here, but unfortunately it was after hours for me. But you could see this obviously would have been an absolutely ridiculous win. If you trade inverted fair value gaps like I do, there was probably a gap down here that you could have taken after this sweep, and then you could see this pumped up like 1,000,000 points after hours, which was really annoying. But overall, I would say the markets have been terrible recently. So if you are struggling to trade, then don't worry too much. I'm going to go through the trades that I took this week because honestly, I still had a pretty good week despite how bad things are, but I can understand why people are struggling so much. So if we take a look here, we're going into Monday. I'm obviously from the UK, if you can't already tell, which means that I am essentially trading London session and New York session. New York is in the afternoon for me at 2:30, and London session's obviously at 8 in the morning for me. So as you can see, I would have woken up on Monday. This is what I would have seen. Grinding to the upside here. Not really anything particularly good. And then the first thing that I would have seen was this sweep here. Now, for anyone who doesn't know how I trade, I will just write down quickly what I'm looking for. I look for sweeps of liquidity from lows. I'm looking for momentum back up, a good reaction. So good reaction to the low. I'm looking for an inverted fair value gap. Preferably 3 candle pattern V shape. They're the absolute best ones and the highest win rate. And then I'm looking for basically I enter on the inversion, on the close basically, target 1R, and then I'll just scale half and break even, and then hold runners for liquidity. And this is essentially what I do. And you can see here what we actually had was, we did get all of this on this, but this was pretty much invalid, wasn't it? Because we came up. I mean, you can see we had a really nice gap here that we could have traded, but unfortunately we had this huge Trump candle, and then the huge Trump candle after that happened, which was unfortunate. Because you can see here, if I'd have managed to get in on this trade with an actual proper sizing, etc. Let me just sort my thing out there, my trade thingy. I can't remember what this is called. Trade indicator. I really hate how big this goddamn candle is because it's just destroying my chart. So you can see here we had all the things that would have been made this a good trade, but unfortunately we got this huge ridiculous candle, and I actually did take this with 1 micro because it closed on the 30-second and I was waiting for the 1 minute for confirmation, and then we got this massive candle to the upside, and I basically held this micro up to this high thinking that we might just go to this high, and then bang. I mean, we went absolutely ridiculously. And I actually took this on one of my evals that I was trading, trying to pass, and I got it up to like $10,000 of profit by accident, which was absolutely annoying. And I actually got it back down to 1.5k for consistency, which was incredible. But overall, this would have been a great trade, but for some reason, I don't know what just happened there. I'm trying to remove the drawings. I'm sorry I clicked drawings there, but anyway, this is how I trade. This is what I'm looking for. And then you can see here we do get a few trades that actually fulfill this criteria. So this whole day we just had not much here, lots of chop. The open was absolute ass, as you can imagine, after the huge pump before open, and then we come down, we sweep liquidity, and we get ourselves a nice 3 candle pattern inverse here, which was just a good trade. This is a good trade. Sweep of liquidity here, delivering out of this huge gap to the side. Sweep, momentum back to the upside. We've got a good reaction. Inverted fair value gap, 3 candle pattern V shape, fulfilling all the criteria for a good trade with my system. You can see here we come up, Sweep liquidity, good reaction, 3 candle pattern V shape. I'm never not going to take this. Targeting 1R, we come up and we hit 1R pretty easily here. As you can see, so I scaled half, go break even. I risk about $250 a trade, so I scaled about $150, and then I basically trailed the stop on the next one because I wasn't sure how far we were going to go when we were so bearish throughout this day here. As you can see, I didn't think we would go all the way back up here if that's what you're thinking. So I was basically just holding my final runners and just trading them. I think I got up to about, realistically, about 2.5R, maybe 2R here before getting stopped out. But overall, this was a good trade, and I thought that this one fulfilled all my criteria. Really, really solid trade. 2R there. Made about $350, $400 on that, risking about $200, I think. So overall, just a really simple trade. And I didn't have to sit at the chart for hours and hours waiting for this. I just set an alert for this low, as I do with all of my trades. Every single time that I wake up, I'll just go on my 5 minute and I'll just go, I wonder where we'll trade from today. And then I'll just set alerts like this. I'll go and I'll mark the lows. These obvious lows where you can trade from, where you can get sweeps of liquidity and reversals. And then I'll just set alerts like this. And I'll just sit around and do something else. Work on my other businesses while I wait for these levels to trigger. It's really, really simple. And you don't have to be sat at your charts all day. This is why I like trading like this. But anyway. So on Monday there, we got a few winners. That winner was actually pretty decent. And then we got a decent trade down here as well. This one I actually didn't take because it was in the middle of the night, which is really annoying. But you can see we've got ourselves a bit of accumulation here. We come down and we actually manipulate the low. You can see we're kind of grinding to the downside slowly. And then during Asia, I actually saw this one when I woke up and I was quite annoyed that I missed it. You can see here, accumulation, really obvious accumulation. We manipulate the low, as you can see here. Now this one was a weird one because I don't usually like to take gaps that move so far away from the gap, from the entry near the gap before I get in, if you know what I mean. You can see how far away we pulled away from this gap here, but we also pumped over this gap as well. So I just kind of used both gaps as the idea for the trade. Entered on this massive, you would call this a Drake candle. I think people call it a Drake candle, where it just pumps up massively. And basically, you can see here, this is what I would have done. I would have obviously got your sweep of liquidity here, and then I would have just targeted up towards the high, and you can see this hit came up and smacked that high and did incredibly well. Completely a banger trade, to be honest. Instantly won. And then you can see here we actually came down and got instantly a resweep and another entry for another trade here that could have been taken. This is why I was so annoyed. You can see the momentum on this one isn't great because it took us a while here to close, but you can see it's fulfilling all the criteria for what I need, apart from the 3 candle pattern V shape. If we don't get the 3 candle pattern V shape, I'll usually size down a bit on my trades because they can still work, but I don't want to be taking a full position. And I probably would have sized down on this and retargeted the high. As you can see, this one would have ran a ridiculous amount all the way back to this high, which would have been a crazy trade. Really, really good trade. But sadly, I was asleep because this was Asia session. And then I woke up and I saw this and I was like, wow, I've completely missed out. There wasn't really anything here that I liked. This was all pretty crap. You can see here we did get a sweep of liquidity here from this obvious low. I think there was a 30-second here, but I actually missed this because I was recording videos. But you can see there was never really anything here that could have been taken realistically. You can see going into this open here, this is pretty crap as well. Really, really poor price action in general. Just nothing here that I would have taken really. No obvious sweep and then inverse. You can see we inverse one gap but not the next here. We come and sweep the low again. I mean, you could have potentially taken this. I think I probably, if I was actually watching the charts, you can see we re-swept the low here for a manipulation leg. And we did come up and eventually close above this 1 minute here. You can see this wouldn't have been a great trade. It probably just would have been a scale break even. So it would have been like $100 profit or something. But overall, Tuesday was pretty bad. Let's take a quick look at Wednesday. Obviously, we had this after hours crazy pump here up through this liquidity we were trying to target all day. Going into Wednesday here. Wednesday was ridiculous seek and destroy price action. Really, really bad price action. Nothing that I would have really wanted to trade. This here was a really, really good trade, but again, I would have been asleep for this, which was really annoying. But you can see here, super obvious low. Really, really obvious low. And then we come down, look at this. This is just absolutely perfect. I mean, this is a 3 candle pattern V shape over a few gaps here. I would have taken this all day long. And then you can see this would have worked like an absolute peach. I would have scaled 1R and then probably scaled halfway up this and then scaled one more at the high. Absolute banger of a trade this would have been. Really, really good trade. So we're coming in here. Still, this is Asia session. Asia session. You can see nothing here really very good at all. Let's look at Thursday. Thursday was an interesting one because there was a 30-second long here that I took on here. Sadly, I don't have the 30-second on my chart. I really need to upgrade my trading view so that I do have it. But you can see here, this was a good trade. Obviously, really obvious kind of accumulation sideways PA. We go into London, into New York Open, I should say, chopping around a bit. We finally come down. We, you know, come through all this LRLR, really obvious liquidity. Trend lines like this, they're always going to get ran, especially during periods of opens when there's high volatility. You can see here we came down. There was a 30-second long here because I remember it really well. It looked essentially something like this. If I can, let me just turn this bloody magnet off because it's doing my head in. The 30-second long essentially looked something like this, or it might have even been a little bit lower. And I entered down here, and I was just targeting back to the high, which we came and hit. And it was just something like this, basically. Pretty simple trade. This was a good trade, but obviously here you can see that we didn't really have great delivery. We did come up to these highs here. Everyone was kind of expecting us to run up a bit more because we had all of this, but obviously such a bearish week and a weird week in general. That was a good trade. This was a good trade as well. I thought this made sense to take. You can see we've got this really, really, really... Need that magnet back now, don't I? Really obvious low. Again, really, really obvious low. And then look at this. This is a really, really good reaction. I actually souped this low because I was really convinced that we were going to bounce from here. You can see we kind of had 3 stabs at going lower here. We came down with sweep, and then we got this really bullish reaction. I actually entered a little starter position down here on a 30-second, which was just 1 micro on my accounts because I figured we'd reverse. And then I looked at this candle on the 1 minute and I was like, damn, we're definitely going to reverse from here. And then I actually added on this inverse of the 1 minute here because I thought we were going to have a really good reversal. Really obvious highs up here to target as well, as you can see. But then in the end it didn't work out. So as you can see, guys, I'm waffling on a bit here, but I'm just going to leave it here. But overall, as you can see, absolutely incredible trading strategy. I still managed to get profitable this week despite the markets. If you do want alerts for my trades, you can join my community. There's lots of education in there, and you can get yourself some more ideas about how I trade this strategy in more detail. These are the basics here, but there are more nuances to it. Please do like and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts down below. Watch the video on screen, and if you do want to join the community, you can do so down below. Thank you.